Stay down, bitch, or your husband gets it worse. Officer Derek Sullivan's boot presses against Angela Turner's ribs. Blood drips from her split lip onto white marble. "Officer, please. There's been a mistake," William says from handcuffs. His voice shakes. "We didn't call anyone." "Shut up!" Sullivan yanks Angela's arm behind her back. "Domestic violence, resisting arrest. You people always lie." William tries again, quieter. "Sir, if you'll just check the address." "I said shut up." Sullivan's partner searches William's wallet. The midnight air carries radio chatter from backup units, dispatch coordinates. Sullivan grins at his easy arrest in Riverside County's wealthy neighborhood. Share your thoughts on police accountability below. Sullivan reads the driver's license. His grin fades. His hands start shaking. "What's wrong?" his partner asks. Sullivan reads the name again and again. The badge on his chest suddenly feels very heavy. 12:23 a.m. The 911 call crackles through Riverside County Dispatch Center. Domestic disturbance at 1247 Oakmont Drive. Loud arguing, sounds of violence. Someone's getting hurt badly. Dispatcher Maria Santos logs the address into the computer system. She's handled 47 emergency calls tonight across 3 patrol sectors. Domestic violence, drunk drivers, petty theft. Another typical Wednesday night in Southern California. She doesn't notice the crucial mistake. The anonymous caller reported 1274 Oakmont Drive, 3 blocks away, where a drunk college student just threw a coffee table at his girlfriend. But Santos types 1247 instead. Officer Derek Sullivan picks up the assignment. 8 years on the force, 12 commendations, 0 tolerance for rich people's problems. His black and white patrol unit cuts through Riverside County's most expensive neighborhood, past manicured lawns and imported luxury cars. Another night in paradise, Sullivan tells his partner, Officer James Wright. Rich assholes fighting over prenups and stock portfolios. Wright adjusts his tactical vest. Better than chasing gangbangers through the projects. True that. Sullivan accelerates past sleeping mansions worth millions. These privileged fucks think money buys them immunity from consequences. Sullivan carries 8 prior complaints for excessive force. His superiors call them personality conflicts. Defense attorneys call them evidence of a pattern. Internal Affairs calls them resolved without discipline. At 1247 Oakmont Drive, Federal Appeals Court Judge William Turner reviews complex appellate briefs in his mahogany-paneled home office. Legal volumes fill floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. Constitutional law texts, civil rights precedents, police misconduct case studies. His wife, Angela, organizes patient medical charts at the granite kitchen counter, preparing for tomorrow's grueling double shift at Riverside General Hospital's Pediatric Intensive Care Unit. 16 years treating children with cancer, trauma, genetic disorders. She hums softly while working. Their 16-year-old daughter, Maya, sleeps upstairs, noise-canceling headphones playing classical music. Perfect grades, full scholarship to Stanford already secured. The family keeps their achievements private. William stretches his back, checks his Swiss timepiece. Almost finished with the Morrison constitutional appeal. Come to bed soon, honey, Angela calls gently. You've been analyzing judicial opinions for 5 straight hours. William nods absently, returning to complex Fourth Amendment arguments. 23 distinguished years on the federal bench. Hundreds of landmark cases involving police brutality, civil rights violations, constitutional protections. Supreme Court citations, law review articles, speaking engagements at Harvard and Yale. His judicial colleagues respect his methodical approach to justice. Defense attorneys appreciate his fairness and legal scholarship. Corrupt cops hate him with burning intensity for his harsh sentences and 0 tolerance for badge abuse. None of them know his home address. Federal security protocols keep judicial families protected from retaliation. The Turners moved here 2 years ago under strict confidentiality agreements. Neighbors assume William works as a government prosecutor or public defender. Angela introduces herself simply as a pediatric nurse. They attend community barbecues, contribute to local school fundraisers, maintain deliberately low public profiles. Sullivan's patrol car turns onto tree-lined Oakmont Drive. Ornate streetlights illuminate house numbers clearly: 1241, 1243, 1245, 1247. He parks directly in front of the target address. The front porch light reveals professional landscaping and a luxury sedan worth more than his annual salary. "Looks pretty quiet for a violent domestic," Wright observes through the windshield. "They always look quiet until someone dies." Sullivan adjusts his duty belt, checks his taser and handcuffs. "Rich people just hide their dysfunction better than poor folks." Radio chatter continues across other sectors. Backup units patrol different neighborhoods tonight. Protocol assigns 2 officers to non-violent domestic calls in safe, affluent areas. Sullivan and Wright handle this alone. Sullivan approaches the elegant front door. Through large bay windows, he sees William Turner's silhouette hunched over legal documents. A black man in an expensive house after midnight, surrounded by books and scattered papers. Sullivan's racist mind immediately assumes criminal activity. Drug dealers counting profits. Stolen merchandise inventory. Something definitely illegal is happening in a house this upscale. Angela Turner opens the front door before Sullivan can knock. Angela Turner opens the door wearing scrubs and a concerned expression. "Officers, is everything all right? We didn't call anyone." Sullivan pushes past her into the foyer without invitation. "Step back, ma'am. We received reports of domestic violence at this address." "That's impossible," Angela says calmly. "We've been working quietly all evening. My husband is in his office, I'm in the kitchen. No arguments, no violence." Wright follows Sullivan inside, hand resting on his radio. The marble entryway gleams under crystal chandeliers. Persian rugs, original artwork, expensive furniture, too nice for the black family standing before them. "Where's your husband?" Sullivan demands. "Office," Angela points down the hallway. "But officer, I think you have the wrong—" "I'll decide what's wrong." Sullivan's voice hardens. "Call him out here now. Here." William appears in the doorway, reading glasses still perched on his nose, legal briefs clutched in his left hand. "What seems to be the problem, officers?" Sullivan sees a tall black man in an expensive neighborhood after midnight. Criminal. Has to be. "Someone called about you beating your wife," Sullivan states flatly. "I beg your pardon?" William's eyebrows raise. "Officer, there's clearly been some mistake. We haven't had any arguments tonight. This is a quiet household." "Don't lie to me." Sullivan steps closer to William. "We get domestic calls here all the time. You people can't control your tempers." Angela flinches at "you people." William's jaw tightens slightly. "Officer," William speaks slowly, carefully, "I assure you there's been no domestic disturbance here. Perhaps you meant a different address. Oakmont Drive has several—" "Are you telling me how to do my job?" Sullivan's hand moves to his baton. Wright activates his body camera. Standard protocol for domestics. The red recording light blinks steadily. "Not at all." William raises both hands peacefully. "I'm simply suggesting you might want to double-check the address with dispatch." "I checked it twice." Sullivan lies smoothly. 1247 Oakmont Drive. Domestic violence in progress. And here you are, a black male with defensive wounds on your wife. Angela touches her face reflexively. No wounds exist. "Officer, I work at the hospital. These are my work scrubs, not—" "I see bruising around your eyes." Another lie. "Fresh injuries. He hit you tonight." "No," Angela shakes her head. "You're mistaken. I haven't been injured. I'm a pediatric nurse. I would know if—" "Stop covering for him." Sullivan points at William. "I know abuse when I see it. You're afraid to tell the truth because he's standing right there." William takes a careful step forward. "Sir, With respect, you're making serious accusations based on— Back up! Sullivan's voice explodes through the house. Don't move toward me! I'm not moving toward you, William says quietly. I'm standing in my own home. Your home? Sullivan laughs harshly. Let me guess. Drug money bought this place, prostitution, gang connections. No way you can afford this legally. The racism hits like a physical blow. William's composure cracks slightly. Officer, I work in government legal services, William explains calmly. My wife is a registered nurse. We purchased this home through legitimate government legal services. Sullivan mocks the phrase. Right. Public defender bullshit. This house costs $2 million. Are you telling me the government pays you enough for this? Angela steps closer to her husband. Officers, if you'll just check our identification, you'll see we're exactly who we say we are. I'll check whatever I want to check. Sullivan's hand moves to his handcuffs. Right now, I'm investigating domestic battery and possible drug distribution. Drug distribution? William's voice sharpens. Based on what evidence? Based on you fitting the profile. Sullivan grins coldly. Black male, expensive house, nervous behavior, wife with defensive injuries. I don't have defensive injuries, Angela protests. Yet. Sullivan's grin widens. The threat hangs in the air like poison. Wright shifts uncomfortably. Maybe you should shut up and let me handle this. Sullivan cuts off his partner. I've got probable cause for arrest. Probable cause for what? William asks. Domestic battery, drug possession, resisting arrest. I haven't resisted anything, William points out. You haven't been arrested yet. Sullivan reaches for his handcuffs. William instinctively steps back. Angela moves protectively toward her husband. Don't move, Sullivan shouts. Both of you, hands where I can see them. The body camera records everything. Audio captures every word, every threat, every moment of escalation. Angela Turner steps directly between Sullivan and her husband. Angela Turner steps between Sullivan and her husband. Please, officer, we can resolve this peacefully. Sullivan's fist connects with Angela's face before anyone can react. She stumbles backward, blood immediately streaming from her nose. William lunges forward instinctively. Wright tackles him from behind, slamming him face first against the marble floor. Get off her! William shouts as Wright forces his arms behind his back. Shut up! Sullivan kicks Angela in the ribs as she tries to stand. She gasps, doubles over, clutches her side. Stop! William struggles against the handcuffs Wright snaps around his wrists. She's a nurse! She hasn't done anything! She interfered with a police investigation. Sullivan grabs Angela's hair, yanks her upright. That's obstruction of justice, bitch! Angela's medical training kicks in despite the pain. Probable rib fracture. Nasal bleeding suggesting broken nose, scalp trauma from hair pulling. She catalogs each injury automatically. Officers, please, she whispers through swelling lips. We have a teenage daughter sleeping upstairs. Should have thought about that before you resisted arrest. Sullivan backhands her across the mouth. Angela's lip splits open. Blood spatters across white marble. Her scrubs darken with red stains. Wright restrains William on the floor. Sullivan, maybe you should control your suspect. Sullivan kicks Angela again, this time in the kidney area. She collapses completely. William's rage builds like pressure in a boiler. 23 years of judicial restraint, constitutional law expertise, civil rights knowledge, all useless while watching his wife brutalized. You're making a mistake, William says through gritted teeth. The only mistake is you thinking you can live in a house like this. Sullivan stomps on Angela's hand. Bones crack audibly. Angela screams. The sound echoes through expensive hallways. Next door, Mrs. Patterson wakes to shouting. She peers through bedroom curtains, sees police cars, calls 911. This is Patricia Patterson at 1249 Oakmont Drive. Officers are beating a woman in my neighbor's house. She's screaming for help. Send supervisors immediately. Across the street, college student Marcus Webb records everything on his phone from his bedroom window. Body camera angles don't capture this perspective. Webb's footage shows clear police brutality. Sullivan drags Angela upright by her broken hand. She nearly faints from pain. "Where are the drugs?" Sullivan demands. "We don't have drugs," Angela gasps. "I'm a pediatric nurse. Check my credentials." "Lying bitch." Sullivan punches her stomach. Angela doubles over, retching. William calculates rapidly. Excessive force. Fourth Amendment violations. Due process violations. Civil rights violations under Section 1983. This officer just committed multiple felonies on camera. "My wife needs medical attention," William states formally. "I'm requesting supervisory response and emergency medical services." "You're not requesting shit." Sullivan kicks Angela while she's down. "You're under arrest for domestic battery, drug possession, and resisting arrest." "I haven't resisted anything," William repeats. "Yet." Sullivan's boot finds Angela's ribs again. Angela's medical training continues assessing damage. Definite rib fractures, possible pneumothorax, facial trauma requiring reconstruction surgery, hand fractures needing orthopedic intervention, kidney damage requiring monitoring. "Please," she whispers, "I need to get to a hospital." "You need to stop lying about the drugs." Sullivan searches through her scrub's pockets roughly. No drugs, no weapons, just hospital ID badge, stethoscope, medical supplies. "Riverside General Hospital," Sullivan reads her badge. "Pediatric Intensive Care Unit. Dr. Angela Turner." "Nurse," Angela corrects weakly. "Pediatric nurse." "Same difference." Sullivan throws the badge across the room. "Probably stealing medical drugs to sell." The accusation reveals Sullivan's complete ignorance of hospital protocols, drug security, medical licensing. Any investigation would prove its absurdity within hours. William memorizes every detail, every word, every action. Federal prosecutors will need comprehensive evidence for the civil rights case he's already building in his mind. "Officer," Wright says quietly, "maybe we should call this in. Get some supervisors down here." "I am the supervisor on this call." Sullivan lies again. "And I say these two are going to jail." Mrs. Patterson's second 911 call crackles through dispatch. "The officer is still beating the woman. She's bleeding heavily." "This is excessive force. Where are the supervisors?" Sullivan's radio remains silent. He's ignored 3 dispatch attempts to check his status. Angela coughs up blood. Possible internal injuries. She needs emergency room care immediately. "Sir," she addresses Sullivan weakly, "I'm experiencing symptoms of internal bleeding. Without medical attention, I could die." "Dramatic bitch." Sullivan kicks her one final time. William watches his wife's blood pool on marble floors they chose together. In the bedrooms above, their daughter somehow still sleeps. In courtrooms across America, Sullivan's career just ended, though he doesn't know it yet. Wright finally activates his radio. "Dispatch, show us code 4 at 1247 Oakmont Drive, 2 in custody, requesting medical response for injuries sustained during arrest." Sullivan glares at his partner but doesn't contradict the medical request. Angela Turner lies motionless on expensive marble, breathing shallowly, bleeding from multiple injuries, while her husband calculates the precise federal statutes that will destroy Officer Derek Sullivan's life. Wright checks William's wallet for identification. Wright pulls out William's leather wallet, still keeping his knee pressed against William's back. Blood from Angela's injuries stains the marble around them. "Let's see what we've got here," Wright mutters, flipping through cards and identification. Sullivan stands over Angela's motionless form, breathing heavily from exertion. Sweat beads on his forehead. "Probably stolen credit cards, fake IDs. The usual drug dealer shit. Driver's license says William J. Turner, Wright reads aloud. Address matches. Born 1979. Good. Real name makes booking easier. Sullivan adjusts his duty belt, satisfied with his work. What else is in there? Wright continues searching through the wallet. Credit cards, insurance cards, family photos. Then his fingers find something unusual. A thick, official-looking identification card with federal seals. There's some kind of government ID here, Wright says, squinting at the card. Probably fake, Sullivan dismisses. These dealers love flashing phony federal badges. Makes them feel important. Wright holds the card closer to the light. His expression changes. Sullivan, you need to see this. Just read it out loud. I'm busy. Sullivan kicks Angela's leg to see if she's conscious. Wright's voice becomes uncertain. It says, Federal Appeals Court. Sullivan freezes mid-motion. His boot stops inches from Angela's body. What did you say? Federal Appeals Court. Wright repeats slowly. United States Court of Appeals, Ninth Circuit. The words hang in the air like toxic gas. Sullivan's confident smirk fades. His hands begin trembling almost imperceptibly. Let me see that. While Sullivan snatches the ID card from Wright's hands, he reads the text once, twice, 3 times. Each reading makes his face paler. William J. Turner, Federal Appeals Court Judge, United States Court of Appeals, Ninth Circuit. The official photograph matches the man handcuffed on the floor. The federal seal looks authentic. The security features appear genuine. Sullivan's world tilts sideways. This has to be fake, he whispers. But deep in his gut, he knows it's real. The expensive house, the educated speech patterns, the calm demeanor under pressure, the wife's medical credentials. Everything suddenly makes sense. Oh, shit, Wright breathes. Sullivan, we just... Shut up. Sullivan's voice cracks. Let me think. William Turner remains silent on the floor, still handcuffed, watching Sullivan's psychological collapse with professional interest. 23 years of judicial experience taught him to recognize panic when he sees it. Sullivan stares at the ID card again. Federal judge, federal, appeals, court, judge. The implications cascade through his mind like dominoes falling. Federal judges have federal law enforcement connections, FBI agents, U.S. Marshals, Department of Justice prosecutors, congressional oversight committees. Federal judges sentence corrupt cops. Right, Sullivan says quietly. Turn off your body camera. What? Why? Turn off your fucking body camera right now. Wright hesitates. Sullivan, that's against protocol. We can't... I said turn it off! Sullivan's voice explodes through the house. But it's too late. Everything is already recorded. Every punch, every kick, every racial slur, every lie, every violation of civil rights, constitutional law, federal statutes. William Turner finally speaks. His voice carries new authority. Officer Sullivan. Sullivan spins around. The handcuffed man on the floor now sounds completely different. Judicial, commanding, dangerous. Yes. Sir? Sullivan's voice barely rises above a whisper. You have just committed multiple felonies against a federal judge and his wife. These include violation of civil rights under color of law, assault under federal jurisdiction, and constitutional violations that carry mandatory minimum sentences. The words hit Sullivan like physical blows. Each legal term represents years in federal prison. Your body camera recorded evidence of each crime. Your partner witnessed each violation. My neighbor called for a supervisory response. My wife requires immediate medical attention. William's tone never rises, never shows anger, pure judicial authority. You have approximately 90 seconds before backup units arrive. I suggest you use that time to request emergency medical services for my wife and to contact your supervisor. Sullivan stares at the federal ID card in his shaking hands. His career, pension, freedom, future, everything he worked for, just evaporated in 3 minutes and 47 seconds. Wright activates his radio with trembling fingers. Dispatch, we need immediate medical response at 1247 Oakmont Drive. Multiple injuries, also requesting supervisory response. And Wright, William adds calmly, you might want to request internal affairs. Sullivan's legs nearly give out. Internal affairs means investigation. Investigation means federal prosecutors. Federal prosecutors means William Turner's colleagues in the federal courthouse, the same courthouse where Sullivan will eventually stand trial for civil rights violations. Angela Turner coughs up more blood on marble that costs more than Sullivan's annual salary. 12:51 a.m. Paramedics arrive first. Angela Turner receives emergency treatment on her own marble floor while federal jurisdiction activates around her. Multiple facial fractures, probable rib fractures, suspected internal bleeding, EMT Rodriguez reports to Riverside General Emergency. The patient is conscious, oriented, requesting transfer to the trauma center. William remains handcuffed during medical assessment. Sullivan stands frozen, still clutching the federal ID card like evidence of his own destruction. Sergeant Michael Davis arrives as Angela is loaded into the ambulance. 22 years supervising patrol units. He's never seen officers look this terrified. What happened here? Davis asks Wright. Domestic call went sideways, Wright stammered. The suspect resisted arrest. My wife interfered. Davis examines Angela's blood on expensive marble. Then he looks at William Turner, still handcuffed, perfectly calm despite his wife's brutal injuries. You the homeowner? Davis asks William. Federal Appeals Court Judge William Turner, 9th Circuit. William responds evenly. Your officers assaulted my wife based on false accusations at the wrong address. Davis's stomach drops. Federal judge. Wrong address. Recorded assault. Sullivan, get over here, now! Sullivan approaches like a condemned man walking to execution. Davis notices his shaking hands, pale complexion, terror-filled eyes. Did you check the address before entry? Davis asks. Yes, sir. 1247 Oakmont Drive. Did you verify the domestic disturbance report? The wife had defensive injuries. Sullivan lies desperately. What defensive injuries? Davis demands. I see blood from her face hitting the floor after you punched her. Sullivan's lie crumbles. Davis reviews Wright's body camera footage on his patrol unit's computer. 3 minutes of clear federal civil rights violations. Jesus Christ, Sullivan. Do you realize what you've done? Meanwhile, William begins his methodical legal response. From the back of Davis's patrol car, he activates connections built over 23 years of federal service. 12:58 a.m. William calls Federal Bureau of Investigation Assistant Director Catherine Morrison. She answers immediately. Judge Turner, it's nearly 1 a.m. I need the FBI Civil Rights Division, William states calmly. Riverside County officers just assaulted my wife under color of law. Multiple federal violations recorded on body camera. Morrison's tone sharpens instantly. Are you both safe? My wife is en route to trauma surgery. I'm currently handcuffed in a patrol car watching the officers panic. I'm activating the federal response team. Don't say anything else until the FBI arrives. 1:03 a.m. Internal Affairs. Lieutenant Sarah Rodriguez receives urgent notification. Federal judge. Excessive force. Body camera evidence. Political nightmare. She pulls Sullivan's personnel file immediately. Her expression darkens with each page. 8 excessive force complaints in 18 months. 12 use of force incidents under review. 7 citizen complaints alleging racial bias. 2 pending internal affairs investigations are already in progress. Rodriguez calls her supervisor. We have a federal incident. Judge William Turner. Yes, that Judge Turner who sentenced 3 of our officers last year for civil rights violations. 1:07 a.m. Rodriguez discovers the financial records. Riverside County has paid $1.2 million in Sullivan-related settlements over 3 years, 17 separate cases, all involving minority victims, all settled quietly to avoid publicity. The pattern becomes undeniable. Sullivan targets minority families, uses excessive force, files false reports, county settles lawsuits, Sullivan returns to patrol. Rodriguez pulls the union contract. Article 47, Section C. Officers facing investigation receive full pay, administrative duties only, until resolution. Section D. Arbitration required before termination. Section E. Personnel records sealed from public disclosure. The system protects Sullivan while endangering citizens. 1:12 a.m. District Attorney Patricia Williams receives emergency notification from her night prosecutor. Federal Judge. Assault case. Media attention guaranteed. Williams reviews Sullivan's arrest record. 47 domestic violence arrests in 12 months. Conviction rate, 12%. Defense attorneys consistently claim excessive force, planted evidence, false testimony. The pattern suggests Sullivan manufactures cases through brutality. 1:15 a.m. Captain Robert Hayes arrives from county headquarters. He reviews Wright's body camera footage twice. Each viewing makes the situation worse. Sullivan's finished, Hayes tells Davis. Federal prosecutors will file charges within hours. This is exactly the type of case Judge Turner specializes in. Hayes accesses Sullivan's training records. Mandatory de-escalation training, failed twice. Bias awareness classes, completed under protest. Psychological evaluation, recommended for counseling, declined treatment. Red flags everywhere, ignored by supervisors wanting quotas filled. Think about this. How many times has something similar happened with no cameras, no federal judges, no consequences? Share your thoughts below. 1:18 a.m. William researches Sullivan's cases from Davis's patrol computer. His photographic memory recalls 3 cases where Sullivan testified before his court. Martinez versus Sullivan. Excessive force during traffic stop. The county settled $47,000. Johnson versus Sullivan. False arrest. Planted drugs. Charges dismissed. County settled $83,000. Rodriguez versus Sullivan. Racial profiling, assault. The county settled $156,000. Each case featured identical patterns. Traffic stops in minority neighborhoods. Aggressive escalation. False charges. Settlement payments. Sullivan back on patrol. Williams Court sentenced other officers for identical behavior. Sullivan's supervisors knew his history but failed to intervene. 1:23 a.m. FBI Special Agent David Carter arrives. 15 years investigating police corruption. He immediately takes control of the crime scene. Judge Turner, I'm Agent Carter, Civil Rights Division. Are you injured? Minor bruising. My wife received severe trauma requiring surgery. Chen examines the blood evidence, photographs everything, secures the body camera footage as federal evidence. Officer Sullivan, you're under federal investigation for violation of civil rights under color of law, assault under federal jurisdiction, and conspiracy to deny constitutional rights. Sullivan finally understands. Federal charges. Federal court. Federal judge's wife as victim. Federal prosecutors who work with Judge Turner daily. 1:27 a.m. Internal Affairs. Rodriguez interviews neighbors. Mrs. Patterson provides detailed witness testimony. Marcus Webb's cell phone footage shows angles the body camera missed. The officer kept kicking her while she was down, Patterson states. She was begging for help. Her husband was handcuffed, couldn't defend her. Webb's footage reveals Sullivan's racial slurs clearly. Audio enhanced by FBI technicians captures every word. He called her a bitch multiple times, Webb reports. Said you people can't control tempers. Pure racism. 1:31 a.m. Rodriguez reviews similar cases countywide. Sullivan's arrest patterns target minority neighborhoods disproportionately. Complaint-to-conviction ratios suggest systematic false arrests. Database analysis reveals Sullivan's arrests in white neighborhoods. 0 excessive force complaints. Arrests in minority neighborhoods. 43 excessive force complaints. Statistical evidence of racial bias. 1:35 a.m. Federal prosecutors Jennifer Walsh and Michael Cooper arrive from Los Angeles. Both specialize in police misconduct cases. Both have argued cases before Judge Turner's court. This is textbook section 1983, Walsh tells Cooper. Conspiracy, excessive force, denial of constitutional rights. Federal judge as victim guarantees maximum prosecution. Cooper reviews the evidence. Body camera footage alone guarantees conviction. Add the pattern evidence, witness testimony, expert medical testimony. Sullivan's looking at mandatory minimum federal time. 1:38 a.m. Williams' handcuffs are finally removed. Agent Carter apologizes formally on behalf of federal law enforcement. Judge Turner, we'll handle this investigation personally. Officer Sullivan will face full federal prosecution. William rubs his wrists, looks at his wife's blood still staining the marble. Agent Carter, this isn't about personal revenge. It's about preventing the next family from experiencing what we just experienced. The federal machinery of justice begins moving with inexorable precision. 2:15 a.m. Riverside County Police Union President Marcus Bradley receives the emergency call from Captain Hayes. Officer Sullivan, federal judge victim. Assault recorded on body camera. Jesus Christ, Bradley mutters into his phone. Federal judge? Which circuit? Ninth Circuit Appeals Court. Judge William Turner. Bradley's stomach drops. Turner sentenced 3 county officers to federal prison last year for civil rights violations. Now one of Bradley's officers just assaulted Turner's wife. Get Morrison here immediately, Bradley orders. Full emergency damage control protocol. 2:23 a.m. Attorney Daniel Morrison speeds toward county headquarters, mind racing through defense strategies. 15 years defending problematic officers. Successfully protected dozens of cops from excessive force charges. Never faced a federal judge victim before. Morrison specializes in police defense, civil rights litigation, officer protection. His track record includes 43 successful excessive force defenses in 5 years. This is different, Bradley explains when Morrison arrives. Judge William Turner knows police misconduct law better than any attorney in California. Morrison's confidence crumbles. He argued 2 cases before Turner's court last year. Remembers Turner's penetrating legal questions, methodical approach to constitutional law, zero tolerance for badge abuse. Turner wrote the Ninth Circuit opinion that expanded federal civil rights protections. Created legal precedents Morrison now fights against daily. 2:35 a.m. Morrison reviews Wright's body camera footage with growing horror. Clear excessive force against an unarmed woman. Racial slurs captured on audio. False accusations documented completely. Every frame strengthens federal prosecution. Every audio clip demonstrates bias. Every angle shows constitutional violations. Sullivan, what the hell were you thinking? Morrison demands. Thought he was a drug dealer, Sullivan whispers, hands still trembling. Black guy living in a house worth $2 million. Had to be illegal money. Racial profiling isn't a legal defense, Morrison snaps. It's additional federal evidence against you. Morrison recognizes the impossible defense. Video evidence, audio recordings, witness testimony, medical documentation. Perfect federal civil rights case. 2:47 a.m. Morrison activates maximum union protection protocols. Transfer Sullivan to administrative services immediately. Full pay and benefits during investigation. Desk duty pending resolution. Standard delay tactics. Protect the officer while evidence disappears. Postpone prosecution until witnesses forget details. Negotiate a quiet settlement. Return officer to patrol duties. We're moving Sullivan out of patrol tonight, Bradley confirms. Administrative assignment with full benefits. Union covers all legal expenses. 2:53 a.m. Intimidation campaign begins targeting witnesses. Officer Wright receives unofficial visits from senior department personnel suggesting he reconsider his testimony. Memory can be unreliable during high-stress situations, Lieutenant Barnes suggests carefully. Maybe the judge was more aggressive than you initially reported. Maybe his wife attacked Sullivan first. Wright refuses to modify his account. Body camera footage makes lies impossible to sustain. I saw what I saw, Wright responds firmly. Sullivan beat that woman without justification. 2:58 a.m. Mrs. Patterson receives an anonymous phone call at her home. Male voice, menacing tone, clear threat. You didn't see anything at the Turner house tonight. Keep your mouth shut if you know what's good for your family. Patterson immediately contacts FBI agent Carter. Federal witness intimidation charges join the expanding case against Sullivan's associates. 3:04 a.m. College student Marcus Webb discovers his car tires slashed in his apartment complex parking lot. Threatening note on windshield. Delete the video or face serious consequences. Webb calls federal agents immediately. Obstruction of justice charges multiply against Sullivan's support network. 3:11 a.m. Morrison attempts damage control through friendly media connections. Plant stories questioning Judge Turner's credibility. Suggest Turner provoked the encounter. Blame the victim. Federal judge lives in luxury while criticizing police budgets. Morrison drafts for sympathetic reporters. Local media outlets refuse the story. Attacking federal judges without substantial evidence backfires spectacularly in court. 3:18 a.m. Union representatives pressure Internal Affairs Lieutenant Rodriguez to delay her investigation indefinitely. Maybe wait for federal prosecutors to decide before proceeding, Bradley suggests diplomatically. No point duplicating investigative efforts unnecessarily. Rodriguez recognizes the standard stall tactic. Federal cases require months to develop. During delays, evidence disappears mysteriously, witnesses relocate conveniently, memories fade strategically. This investigation continues on schedule, Rodriguez responds firmly. Officer Sullivan committed documented crimes on camera. Federal or local jurisdiction, he gets prosecuted fully. 3:25 a.m. Morrison discovers his personal law school connection to Judge Turner. 23 years ago, Morrison attended UC Berkeley Law School. William Turner guest lectured Morrison's constitutional law class on civil rights enforcement. Morrison remembers Turner's brilliant legal mind, encyclopedic knowledge of federal statutes, and passionate commitment to constitutional protections. Now Morrison must defend a client who violated every principle Turner taught that semester. 3:32 a.m. Riverside General Hospital security reports suspicious individuals attempting unauthorized access to Angela Turner's protected medical records. Union-connected private investigators seeking evidence of pre-existing injuries to undermine assault charges. FBI agents secure the hospital immediately, preventing evidence tampering attempts. Angela's medical documentation remains protected under federal investigation protocols. 3:38 a.m. The County Board of Supervisors receives intense union pressure to negotiate immediate settlement. Pay substantial monetary damages quickly. Transfer Sullivan to a different department quietly. Avoid federal prosecution entirely. Judge Turner wants institutional accountability, not personal compensation, FBI agent Carter informs county officials. Federal criminal charges proceed regardless of any civil settlement agreements. Union escape routes prove ineffective against federal jurisdiction. 3:44 a.m. Morrison attempts professional negotiations with federal prosecutors, Walsh and Cooper. Attorney courtesy. Reasonable plea bargain possibilities. Avoid expensive federal trials. Your client brutally assaulted a federal judge's wife on camera. Walsh responds coldly. Multiple civil rights violations under Section 1983. No plea bargains available. Cooper adds, Officer Sullivan chose his criminal actions. Now he faces federal consequences. How often do police unions spend more resources protecting bad officers than supporting community safety? Share your experiences below. 3:51 a.m. Sullivan finally grasps his situation completely. Federal charges in federal court. Federal judge as primary victim. Federal prosecutors who collaborate professionally with that judge daily. Union protection doesn't extend to federal jurisdiction. Local political connections don't influence federal prosecutors. State-level corruption doesn't affect federal civil rights cases. Morrison reviews federal sentencing guidelines for civil rights violations. Mandatory minimum sentences. Maximum penalty ranges. No possibility of early parole. Sullivan, Morrison says quietly, start considering federal prison reality. Union officials subsequently declined additional media comment beyond stating they will vigorously defend Officer Sullivan through all available legal avenues. Available legal avenues prove extremely limited against clear federal violations. The federal justice machinery continues forward, immune to local corruption and union interference. 4:15 a.m. Angela Turner lies unconscious in Riverside General's trauma unit. Facial reconstruction surgery scheduled for morning. Broken ribs require monitoring for lung puncture. William sits in the hospital waiting room wearing clothes stained with his wife's blood. 23 years of judicial authority feels meaningless, watching machines keep Angela alive. Dr. Patricia Sanchez delivers Angela's medical update. Judge Turner, your wife's injuries are extensive. Facial fractures, rib damage, possible kidney trauma. Recovery will take months. William nods silently. Months of surgery, physical therapy, psychological counseling, all because Officer Sullivan saw a black family in an expensive house. 4:23 a.m., FBI agent Carter delivers discouraging news. Sir, we're facing significant resistance from local law enforcement. Evidence is being secured, but the union's mobilizing substantial resources. What kind of resistance? Witness intimidation, media manipulation, political pressure. They're treating this like a war. 4:31 a.m. Federal Prosecutor Walsh calls with complications. Judge Turner, the union's filing motions claiming prosecutorial bias, saying you can't be both a victim and a judicial authority. Now that's legally absurd, William responds. Agreed, but it creates delays. Months of procedural challenges before trial. The union's buying time. 4:38 a.m. Morrison's media campaign gains traction. Local news questions federal judge salaries, expensive lifestyles, whether Turner provoked the encounter. Federal judge's million-dollar home raises ethics questions, reads the morning headline. Character assassination begins. Attack the victim's credibility. Make the public question whether Turner deserved protection. 4:45 a.m. Chief Judge Patricia Carter calls William. This situation creates complications for the court. Perhaps consider recusal from police cases during your recovery. The suggestion hits like ice water. Recusal means Sullivan's colleagues continue operating without judicial oversight. Are you asking me to abandon my duties because I was victimized? I'm suggesting you avoid the appearance of bias during ongoing prosecution. 4:52 a.m. Angela's daughter Maya arrives, sees her father covered in blood, her mother unconscious with breathing machines. Dad, what happened to Mom? William struggles to explain police brutality to his teenage daughter. Some police officers made mistakes tonight. Mistakes? Maya's voice rises. Mom's in intensive care because of mistakes? 4:59 a.m. Morrison files federal motions challenging every piece of evidence. Body camera footage allegedly edited. Witness testimony potentially coerced. Medical records possibly falsified. Standard defense tactics create months of delays while Angela suffers. 5:06 a.m. Union President Bradley holds a press conference defending Sullivan. Officer Sullivan responded appropriately to a domestic violence call. Subsequent allegations represent prosecutorial overreach. Public opinion begins shifting. Cop supporters rally around Sullivan. Turner critics question federal judge accountability. 5:13 a.m. Federal prosecutor Cooper calls with settlement offers. The county's proposing $2 million, policy changes, sensitivity training. Sullivan keeps his pension. No criminal charges? Civil settlement only. Clean slate for Sullivan. 5:20 a.m. Dr. Sanchez returns with worse news. Your wife's psychological trauma may be more severe than physical injuries. She's showing signs of PTSD, anxiety about uniformed officers. Angela, who spent 16 years treating sick children, now fears the people supposed to protect children. 5:27 a.m. Williams' law clerk calls. Sir, defense attorneys are requesting your recusal from 12 pending police cases. They claim bias after your personal experience. Williams' judicial career fighting police misconduct becomes evidence of prejudice against law enforcement. 5:34 a.m. Maya confronts her father directly. Dad, why don't we just take their money and move somewhere safe? The question cuts deeper than Sullivan's fists. William built his career prosecuting constitutional violations. Now his family wants him to abandon justice for safety. 5:41 a.m. William sits alone in the hospital chapel, questioning everything. Federal jurisdiction, constitutional law, civil rights enforcement. All the legal structures he believed in failed to protect his wife. Maybe bad cops always win through union protection. Maybe fighting back creates more suffering. 5:48 a.m. FBI agent Carter returns with final bad news. Sir, we intercepted communications suggesting threats against your family if prosecution continues. William realizes the full cost. Legal battles, character assassination, family threats, wife traumatized. My daughter is afraid. Career questioned, all to prosecute one cop who will probably get transferred anyway. The system feels designed to break victims who seek justice. 6:15 a.m. Angela Turner wakes briefly in the ICU. Her first words through swollen lips. Don't let them get away with this. William squeezes her uninjured hand. We won't. Her voice strengthens despite the pain. Other families. How many other families has Sullivan hurt? 6:23 a.m. The question sparks Williams' renewed determination. 23 years on the federal bench taught him that individual cases reveal systemic patterns. Sullivan didn't suddenly become violent. William calls FBI agent Carter. I want to review every complaint against Sullivan, every lawsuit, every family he's terrorized. Judge Turner, that could be dozens of cases. Then we contact dozens of families. 6:31 a.m. Social media explodes with support for the Turner family. Marcus Webb's cell phone footage spreads rapidly. Hashtag Justice for Angela Turner trends nationally. Comments flood in. Same thing happened to my sister in Riverside County. Officer Sullivan threatened my family during a traffic stop. We filed complaints about Sullivan 3 years ago. Nothing happened. 6:38 a.m. Maria Rodriguez calls FBI agent Carter directly. Officer Sullivan assaulted my son during a traffic stop last year. Chen takes detailed notes. Another pattern victim. Why didn't you report it officially? We tried. Internal Affairs said insufficient evidence. Union lawyers threatened lawsuit if we talked to the media. 6:45 a.m. Dr. James Washington, prominent civil rights attorney, calls Williams' hospital room directly. Judge Turner, my firm represents 12 families with Sullivan-related complaints. We've been building a class action lawsuit for 2 years. Why haven't you filed? I needed a catalyst, a victim the system couldn't ignore. You're that catalyst. 6:52 a.m. Riverside County NOACP President Sharon Davis organizes an emergency community meeting. Word spreads through churches, schools, and neighborhood associations. Federal Judge Turner's family was brutalized by the same officer terrorizing our community for years, Davis announces. 6:59 a.m. Local pediatric doctors rally around Angela. Dr. Michael Carter, chief of pediatrics, issues public statement. Angela Turner has saved hundreds of children's lives. She deserves justice for the violence inflicted by those sworn to protect families. 7:06 a.m. Pastor Robert Williams calls for peaceful demonstration. Judge Turner fought for civil rights from the bench. Now we fight for him in the streets. Church networks mobilize across Riverside County. 7:13 a.m. Sullivan's other victims step forward publicly. Carmen Martinez, David Johnson, Patricia Rodriguez. Each story follows identical patterns. Traffic stops in minority neighborhoods. Aggressive escalation. False charges. 7:20 a.m. County Supervisor Janet Thompson receives hundreds of constituent calls demanding Sullivan's prosecution. My office has received over 400 calls this morning, Thompson tells reporters. Citizens want answers about Officer Sullivan's conduct. 7:27 a.m. High school students at Riverside Prep organize solidarity demonstration. Maya Turner's classmates create #JusticeForMrs.T hashtags, share stories of positive interactions with Angela. 7:34 a.m. FBI agent Carter's phone rings constantly. New witnesses, additional victims, corroborating evidence. Judge Turner, we've identified 17 separate families with Sullivan complaints. Most never reported officially due to intimidation. 7:41 a.m. Federal Prosecutor Walsh calls with encouraging news. The Department of Justice is upgrading this to a federal civil rights investigation. We're assigning additional prosecutors. Washington, D.C. attention guarantees serious prosecution. 7:48 a.m. William receives support from judicial colleagues nationwide. Federal judges from other circuits call offering assistance. This affects all of us, says Chief Judge Patricia Carter. An attack on one federal family is an attack on judicial independence. Have you seen your community come together against injustice? Share your experiences below. 7:55 a.m. Angela squeezes William's hand again. The stories. All these families. We have to fight. William looks at his wife, battered but determined. Around them, a community mobilizes for justice. The tide begins turning. Individual victims become a collective voice. Community strength starts overwhelming system corruption. 8:45 a.m. FBI Digital Forensics Specialist Agent Lisa Park calls William with news that changes everything. Judge Turner, Officer Sullivan's body camera contained hidden footage. 12 additional minutes he thought he deleted. What kind of footage? Audio of Sullivan planning your assault before entering your house. 8:52 a.m. Park plays the recovered audio. Sullivan's voice in their patrol car, clear and unmistakable. Watch this. I'm gonna teach these uppity people what happens when they think they're better than us. Wright responds. Sullivan, maybe we should check the address first. Fuck the address. Black family in a rich house? They're criminals. Guaranteed. The premeditation shocks William completely. 8:59 a.m. Sullivan's voice continues planning specific violence. I'm gonna rough up whoever answers the door. Make them respect authority. These people need to learn their place. What if they're legitimate residents? Wright asks nervously. No such thing. Trust me on this. Federal prosecutors now have recorded confession to conspiracy and premeditated assault. 9:06 a.m. Agent Park explains the discovery. Sullivan used department software to delete evidence, but federal tools recover everything from device memory. How much evidence tampering? Extensive. Sullivan edited footage from 6 other incidents involving minority families. 9:13 a.m. The audio reveals Sullivan's systematic targeting strategy. I cruise minority neighborhoods looking for expensive cars, nice houses, create probable cause, plant evidence if necessary, easy arrests. Wright sounds uncomfortable. I don't know about this approach. Relax. Union protects us. The system's rigged in our favor. 9:20 a.m. Most damaging confession comes next. Last month, I beat some woman unconscious during a traffic stop. The county paid $50,000 to shut her up. William recognizes the Martinez case from Civil Rights Attorney Washington's list. Made 73 arrests last year, 48 minorities, 0 white people. 9:27 a.m. Sullivan's audio reveals departmental conspiracy. Captain Hayes knows what I do. Internal Affairs covers paperwork. Union President Bradley handles legal problems. We're untouchable. Institutional corruption confirmed through recorded confessions. 9:34 a.m. Sullivan specifically targeted William because of his judicial background. Federal judges think they're tough on police brutality? I'd love to teach one a lesson personally. The assault wasn't random. Sullivan deliberately chose a federal judge's family. 9:41 a.m. Sullivan's personal audio diary contains the most devastating evidence. Angela Turner looked terrified when I started hitting her. Good. She needed to fear authority. William Turner couldn't protect his own family. Pathetic federal judge. Recorded confession to assault with racial motivation and contempt for judicial authority. 9:48 a.m. Sullivan planned future violence against the Turner family. Next time I encounter them, I'll finish what I started, maybe visit their daughter's school. Direct threats against the federal judge's family recorded on department equipment. 9:55 a.m. Agent Park summarizes the legal impact. Judge Turner, this audio eliminates any possibility of plea bargains. Sullivan confessed to federal crimes while planning continued violence. Federal Prosecutor Walsh joins the call. This evidence guarantees conviction on all charges, maximum sentences under federal guidelines, 10:02 a.m. Sullivan's final recorded statements reveal complete contempt. Internal Affairs, FBI, federal prosecutors, they're all weak. The Union protects cops who take real action. Turner thinks his courthouse protects him? I know where he lives. 10:09 a.m. The evidence overwhelms any possible defense. Sullivan's own voice confessing to premeditated assault based on racial bias, systematic targeting of minority families, evidence tampering across multiple cases, threats against federal judicial family, conspiracy with departmental officials. What would real accountability look like in your community? Share your thoughts below. 10:16 a.m. William absorbs the implications. Sullivan didn't encounter his family randomly. This was deliberate targeting of a federal judge's household for racial violence. The conspiracy includes systematic civil rights violations, evidence destruction, institutional racism documented through Sullivan's own confessions. Sullivan's recorded words provide perfect federal prosecution evidence. The case becomes unwinnable for the defense. 6:00 p.m. Riverside County City Council emergency session. Council chambers pack beyond capacity. Community members demand justice. Media cameras capture everything. Sullivan sits beside Attorney Morrison, visibly shaking. Council President Janet Thompson calls for order. This emergency session addresses Officer Derek Sullivan's conduct and departmental accountability. William Turner enters through the back doors. The room falls silent. Every eye follows the federal judge whose family was brutalized 12 hours earlier. Angela remains hospitalized, but her spirit fills the chamber through community support. 6:07 p.m. FBI Agent Carter presents evidence to the packed room. Officer Sullivan's own recorded confessions prove premeditated assault, racial targeting, and systematic civil rights violations. Chen plays audio excerpts. Sullivan's voice echoes through speakers. I'm going to teach these uppity people what happens when they think they're better than us. The community gasps. Some people cry. Others show barely contained anger. 6:14 p.m. Sullivan's victims testify publicly for the first time. Maria Rodriguez takes the microphone with trembling hands. Officer Sullivan broke my son's nose during a traffic stop, called him racial slurs, We were too afraid to report it. Carmen Martinez follows. Sullivan put me in the hospital. The county paid us to stay quiet, but we're not quiet anymore. David Johnson's voice shakes with emotion. Sullivan planted drugs in my car. I spent 6 months in jail for crimes I didn't commit. 6:21 p.m. Morrison attempts damage control. Officer Sullivan made mistakes under pressure. He deserves counseling, not criminal prosecution. The community erupts. Shouts of murderer and racist fill the chamber. Thompson gavels for order. William Turner stands slowly. The room becomes completely silent. 6:28 p.m. William approaches the speaker's podium. 23 years of judicial authority fills his voice. Officer Sullivan didn't make mistakes. He committed premeditated federal crimes. His own recorded confessions prove racial bias, systematic targeting, evidence tampering. William's calm tone carries absolute moral authority. Every word devastates Sullivan's defense. Sullivan specifically targeted my family because I'm a federal judge who prosecutes police misconduct. This was calculated revenge against judicial oversight. 6:35 p.m. William continues methodically destroying Sullivan's credibility. Sullivan's audio diary reveals contempt for constitutional law, federal authority, civil rights protections. He recorded himself planning future violence against my teenage daughter. Sullivan slumps deeper into his chair. Morrison frantically scribbles notes but finds no defense against recorded confessions. This officer represents everything wrong with unaccountable law enforcement: racial bias, excessive force, evidence tampering, institutional protection of criminal behavior. 6:42 p.m. The community rises in standing ovation. William's judicial authority combined with personal victimization creates an unassailable moral position. Sullivan tries to leave. FBI agents block the exits. Officer Sullivan, Agent Carter announces, you're under federal arrest for violation of civil rights under color of law. The handcuffs click with satisfying finality. The same cuffs Sullivan used on William 12 hours earlier. 6:49 p.m. Sullivan's final humiliation comes as Agent Carter reads federal charges. Conspiracy to violate civil rights. Assault under federal jurisdiction. Evidence tampering. Threat to the federal judicial family. Each charge carries mandatory minimum sentences. Sullivan realizes federal jurisdiction means no union protection, no local influence, no political connections. Federal prosecutors. Federal court. Federal prison. 6:56 p.m. Council President Thompson addresses the packed chamber. Effective immediately, Officer Derek Sullivan is terminated from Riverside County Sheriff's Department. All cases involving Sullivan will be reviewed for misconduct. The community explodes in cheers. Justice served publicly. Accountability demanded and delivered. Morrison sits alone at the defense table. His client just confessed to federal crimes on department equipment. No appeals possible against recorded evidence. 7:03 p.m. William Turner delivers closing statement. Today proves the system can work when citizens demand accountability. Officer Sullivan will face federal prosecution for his crimes against my family and this entire community. Justice delayed isn't justice denied when truth has a voice. The federal badge Sullivan feared 12 hours ago just destroyed his life completely. Federal justice prevails over local corruption. 3 months later, Officer Derek Sullivan receives 15 years in federal prison. No parole, no appeals, no union protection reaches federal jurisdiction. Officer James Wright testifies against departmental corruption, receives immunity for cooperation. Captain Hayes faces federal investigation. Internal Affairs. Lieutenant Barnes transfers quietly. Union President Bradley resigns in disgrace. Attorney Morrison loses 12 clients after Sullivan's conviction. Angela Turner recovers slowly. Facial reconstruction succeeds. Ribs heal completely. Psychological trauma requires ongoing therapy. She returns to pediatric nursing with renewed purpose, treating children whose families fear police violence. William Turner resumes judicial duties with enhanced authority. His experience as a victim strengthens his civil rights decisions. Defense attorneys can't claim bias against someone who survived police brutality personally. Maya Turner testifies before Congress about police reform. Her mother's assault became a catalyst for federal legislation requiring body camera audits, racial bias training, and misconduct databases. Riverside County implements comprehensive reforms. New sheriff, revised use of force policies, community oversight committees, federal monitoring for 5 years. Sullivan's 17 identified victims receive justice through federal civil rights prosecutions. Pattern evidence from his audio confessions enables multiple convictions. The wrong house changed everything. Sullivan chose the wrong family, wrong federal judge's wife, wrong system to challenge. Sometimes justice requires personal cost. Sometimes truth demands courage. Sometimes the right person gets targeted by the wrong system. How do we ensure accountability protects everyone's families, not just federal judges? Share your commitment to justice below. Subscribe for more stories where truth defeats corruption and ordinary families find extraordinary justice.